Listen up, partners. This is Good, Bad, Ugly on World Improv Network.
Good evening, everyone. I am Alex.
Hi, I'm Justin.
And we are your astute wind counselors to get you through the week with any daily grind issues you might be experiencing or anything that you just want to talk about, anything that you want to have some answers to. Mm-hmm. We're here to help.
Yeah.
Right? All right, J-Bo, let's go to our first one. Our first winner is Jerome from Atlanta, Georgia, and he writes, Dear Win, what do you guys think of the increase in police shootings? What do you think, J-Bo? You got any thoughts on that?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
But
and he didn't specify, cops getting shot or cops shooting. He just said police shootings. Mm-hmm. Or if it's just cops that are out on the shooting range.
Well, I read some stupid ass number that was like every 8-year president or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this is actually Obama's the only president for 8 years that has the lowest numbers of cop shootings. And Nixon and Bush were the highest. Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. So when you say that it's raising, the whole point is it's actually the lowest it's ever been.
Interesting. And is it a stat that was attributed to media coverage back then? Because everything's hyper-covered nowadays with iPhones and so on. Where back then it was kind of like, well, if the reporters didn't report it, it never happened. Or if the reporters did happen, it really happened. Interesting. Well, that is a very interesting stat. Yeah, I mean, I guess from a media standpoint and a public eye standpoint, there have been more shootings by the police and even against the police. But the question really is, in my mind, is how well are the police shooting? I mean, are they as trained as they used to be, like the ex-military guys coming home, becoming cops? Or are they just kind of weekend warriors shooting pop cans and they might not even be that accurate anymore?
Just kind of wasting ammo.
Right, which is taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars. It's 10 cents here, 10 cents there.
That's right. I'm all for police, hitting their target, but when they're spraying 50 shots and not hitting anything, that's like, it's maybe $1 around nowadays, that's like $50.
Oh, well, easy. And you think some of those guys, they pull them out of the car and they got 30, 40 shells in them.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money, So be a little bit more efficient, police department.
Yeah, at least that. Shoot to injure.
That's right. All right. Well, I hope that helped, Jerome. And let's go on to our next winner here. We have Martin from Canberra, Australia. Canberra, that's actually the capital of Australia. Did you know that?
Canberra?
Yeah, most people think it's Sydney or somewhere else. But
or Brisbane or Melbourne, anywhere but the one you've never heard of.
That's exactly right, because, again, that's the capital seat of Australia. Anyway, Martin writes, Dear Win, what do Americans think of the sudden ousting of former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott by his own ruling party? Well, I'll jump on this one, I guess, only because I've been to Australia and I like a lot of things about Australia, and I actually know who Tony Abbott is and was as a Prime Minister, funnily enough. And, of course, he had to deal with the whole MH370 disaster, the airline that crashed off the coast. They don't know yet for sure, but I think has it been confirmed yet that it's actually crashed off the coast of Australia?
Well, they found like pieces, but they were saying that it probably went straight into the water.
So they don't know yet. But, that's kind of a cool thing, and I'll tell you why it's cool. Not cool for Tony or Mr. Abbott or Prime Minister Abbott, but it's cool because literally the party just says, you know what, I'm done with you. We've had enough. Imagine if we could do that. If our presidents were accountable and they actually had some recourse besides an election that they then spend, a couple $100 million to $1.7 billion, what Hillary's going to try to raise for the next year's election, then at any point in time, you got to be on your game. You got to make sure that things are at least going somewhat right, even within your own party structure. That they can just up and say, yep, we've had enough here, you're done.
Well, from an American standpoint, I think they should take a serious look at Bernie Sanders.
That'd be a good idea.
For prime minister, and then, he could do all the running and campaigning and stuff here while running Australia. I mean, it can't be that hard. What is it? Keep beaches open and make sure that,
watch out for hurricanes and cane frogs.
Yeah, and make sure the coral reef stays pretty.
Right.
I think if they were to go with an American prime minister over, what was his name?
Tony Abbott.
Yeah, Tony Abbott. See, that's the thing is I didn't even know who he was. I probably should.
Well, Justin.
Well,
I think we got an answer right here. You're on to something. Why don't we do like they swap seasons, right? They're winter when we're summer and so on. Mm-hmm. Why don't we swap prime ministers or presidents? We'll take Tony Abbott.
Oh, you mean like national leader swap?
Yeah,
like instead of wife swap?
Yeah, instead of wife swap, we do like a national leader swap. And we can do it once a year. Like official national leader swap day. Mm-hmm. And this year our partner city or partner country is Australia. And it's pulled out of a fortune cookie, and bam, we got Australia. We're going to swap Tony Abbott for
and in
Obama.
A perfect world, of course, then we get Kim Jong-un on board.
That'd be sweet.
And now we get North Korea back into the world atmosphere, And I'd be curious to see what Kim Jong-un did with like a Uruguay or something like that.
That'd be
Because I think
pretty cool.
everyone could switch.
Yeah, no, I think we should make it a world event every year.
And then Americans will care because we're involved.
That's exactly
and
right.
that's generally what it takes for us to read something.
Yeah, and for us to even, like you said, care.
Yeah, because it has no effect on us.
Yeah, but if we're swapping prime ministers and stuff, and then all of a sudden Americans can see how cool the beaches are and the reefs and all that stuff, and he can tell us all about it.
Or if they've got some grassroots movement that we just kind of needlessly need to get behind.
And most importantly, just a cool accent.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going for you, but you really need that grassroots, useless movement to really get on our radar.
Right, yeah.
But Bernie Sanders is a great start, and then start swiping.
Yeah, let's swap them there. Why don't you take that back to your people there in Canberra and see if you can start a petition? And Mr. Abbott's out of a job, so send him our way.
Put that one on the Barbie.
Yeah, we'll put that one on the Barbie. That's right. Okay, our next winner is Apti. I hope I pronounce this right. Apti from Mumbai, India. And she writes, Dear Win, my baby boy will not stop crying throughout the evening. Do you have any advice on how to get babies to stop crying during the sleeping hours?
Benadryl?
Benadryl. But the thing is, I don't know if they have Benadryl in Mumbai. I'm sure they do. I mean, it's probably made in India, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Mumbai, they may not have working restrooms.
But they have Benadryl.
Yeah, because isn't India is the largest democracy without, a water system and everything?
Yep. They're also the largest voting democracy. Mm-hmm. And they're also, next to China, one of the top producers of pharmaceuticals that come in the United States.
Yeah, so if they don't have Benadryl, I think...
it could be just called something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Golden Vishnu tablets or something.
I was going to say Benadryl curry or something.
Well, Benadryl curry, that probably sounds like a pretty good dish.
Benadryl and Josh, or Benadryl Makani.
Masala.
Yeah.
Okay.
NyQuil masala.
Well, Apti, I think the best thing to do, and this is what we do in the United States. I mean, every parent in the United States, whether they admit it or not, is you take an eyedropper. Okay? You go down to your local liquor store, you buy the cheapest bottle of early times whiskey, bottom drawer stuff.
Oof.
You just take the eyedropper, stick it underneath the tongue, 2 drops, and the baby will stop crying, and it won't cry for at least 8 more hours. That solves that problem. And it's very efficient, very cheap, very reasonable, and it lasts for many years. Or many children, if you have many children.
Yeah, it just depends on how fast you drink the bottle.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Opti.
That's right. Thanks, Opti, for asking that question. And we have one more. Todd from Boca Raton, Florida writes, Dear Win, my boss keeps giving me a hard time for not being able to get a girlfriend. Any suggestion, guys? Oh, man, he thinks that we got the answers or something.
What? Well, I mean, there's a lot of variables. I mean, where does he work?
He doesn't say that. He's in Boca Raton. So, I mean, he's in a nice neck of the woods, I guess, from a probably average income level. But that doesn't mean he works at the auto lube place or Chili's. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's depends on, and what's his boss's track record? I mean,
Good
is this
point.
one of those pot calling the kettles?
Yeah, one of these guys that talk and brag and never actually had a girlfriend himself.
Yeah. He goes home and watches the Blacklist and knows everything going on.
But actually doesn't have any on his own blacklist.
Yeah. So I think you should not take his advice.
So how do you think you should counteract this when he's nagging at him? Sounds like this guy must be always busting his chops about it.
When you're in front of a bunch of girls, snap back at your boss and show him that you have control of the situation.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You know what I mean? You get a bunch of cute girls, probably bikinis or whatever in Florida, and you look at your boss, you're like, buddy, I'm taking my break now.
Yeah.
Or something.
Because he'd be a real douche if he reprimanded him in front of those hot chicks.
Well, yeah.
And he wants to impress them, probably.
I mean, it might escalate to him like walking out of there just to impress some girls, where it's just like, oh, well, you're going to do this? Well, I'll show you. I don't need this job.
Well, you know what? You're right. That might solve 3 problems right there. A, one of those girls might actually think that's the coolest thing ever, and he ends up with his first girlfriend. Or B, he no longer has to work for that jerk anymore. And 3, he's now free to look for any job he wants.
And 4, maybe you could find that Melissa chick that we heard from earlier.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah. And Melissa's got money.
Woof.
I watched that episode. Man, she is banging for 73.
Woof.
Did you see her? I could have swore, as an objective viewer, and I'm sitting there, I could see what Shabazz was drooling, that, he doesn't drool over anything. I mean, he's pretty selective, and he's had some pretty dimes on his show.
And for 74, she looked at least 48.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
At least. And probably $500,000 worth of plastic on that face.
At least.
You know, but nowadays plastic's got a high tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a good investment.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I haven't even answered any of this, Todd, except for I'm going to say go with Justin. He's always wise. And I think he got the right answer on this one. And thank you so much, winners, for asking us a couple questions here and us trying to give you a little bit of advice and some answers to these tough questions that you gave us. And we have one more little piece of inspiration to get you through the rest of the week, and that's known as Horoscope Corner.
Love, fortune, status. Let us do your astrological chart. Horoscope Corner on World Improv Network.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Justin Franzen filling in for the old Jim Gaffney with your horoscope for this week. The house of Vertigo is setting in its own sun, so be prepared for Brussels sprouts to be 86 across the board. So if you're into Brussels sprouts, be aware Virgo's closing and taking them with it. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Win. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Please download the podcast on iTunes and listen to us and stuff. We'll see you next Monday.
Thanks for listening to Win on KZKO. Don't forget to interact with the cast by sending your suggestions for each segment throughout the week by hitting them up on Facebook at World Improv Network, Twitter at World Improv Net, or the Win KZKO blog. See you next week.